Greetings, YouTube. Airborne 80 here. You know, I literally just sat down and I turned on a Joe Rogan podcast. It was recommended on YouTube, and, you know, I love Joe Rogan. And it's his interview with Kid Rock. And I'm about 4 minutes into it, and they're talking about, you know, fentanyl and Tom Petty and marijuana and kind of Kid Rock's, you know, progression and marijuana habits, whatever. And I thought, you know what, a thought came to my head. I said, I'm going to pause that and I'm going to do a quick video because it got me thinking, you know, back when I was with the Los Angeles Police Department. So I went on in 84. So in the 80s and 90s, it's just amazing to me how much things have progressed in terms of marijuana. I mean, before I came on, back in the 70s, not long before I came on in California, you know, you could go to jail for a felony if you were in possession of a pot seed, you know. And back in those days, you know, the weed was not the way it is now. It was, you know, there were like 2-finger lids, 4-finger lids, which were Ziploc baggies with the marijuana measured out. And it had stems and seeds and all kinds of crap. And it just, you know, just depended on who you were getting it from, I guess. And, you know, so it was a big deal. People went to fucking jail on felonies because, you know, the cops found a pot seed in their car that fell out of the baggie or whatever. You know, so by the time I got behind the badge, I mean, people were going to jail for marijuana. And then the laws changed to where if it was, you know, under a certain amount, it was a misdemeanor, over a certain amount, it was a felony. But either way, it was an arrestable offense. And it just, back then, for anybody interested in like the way we, law enforcement, at least where I was, the way we thought back in those days, and I don't speak for all LAPD officers, but my crew, the guys that I worked with, you know, weed was never an issue for us. And I've said this to a million people in person that whenever this comes up, look, man, this was my mantra back in those days. I would much rather deal with a guy that was high as a fucking kite on marijuana than a dude that was just a little tanked up on Jack Daniels, you know, or vodka. Of all the people that I arrested, the countless people that I arrested, I never, or dealt with, I never once in the history of my career had any issue with somebody that was high on marijuana. And, you know, that's not a big deal in today's thing because everybody's smoking weed everywhere you go. But back then, you know, you smell weed, you start tracking it down and, you know, see what it leads to. I used to use marijuana as probable cause to get to something else. Because, you know, my partners and I, we were elephant hunters. And the people in the street that knew us in our areas that we worked in, specifically the projects in southeast Los Angeles, you know, they knew that. If I stop some, you know, known gangbanger and he's got weed on him, you know, I could technically arrest him for that. But it didn't matter who you were. I always wanted to trade up, and I offered to trade up. Hey, man, this is my speech I gave everybody. I'm an elephant hunter. You ain't no elephant. But it's like when you go fishing, man, if you catch a little fish and that's all you got, that's all you got. And I would happily trade this little fish for a big fish. Give me something better. Well, what do you mean, man? Dude, give me a stolen car somewhere where you know where it's at and that people are using it. Give me somebody that's packing heat, that's on parole. And, you know, I hate to break the news to the criminal world, but your people, you may hate the guys in the blue, but your people are not loyal. If you guys knew how quickly motherfuckers would roll over and give up anybody to avoid going to the county, you wouldn't believe it. You just wouldn't believe it. And a guy could be talking shit in front of all his homies, man, go on, book me, motherfucker, book me, motherfucker. As soon as you get him out of sight, man, come on, man, I got this, and I got my getting ready to have a baby, and blah, blah, blah. Man, and I'm like, look, dude, we're not at the station yet. What do you got? Give me something bigger than you, and you go free. And that's how we did it. Oh, that's wrong, man. You're breaking the rules. Look, we had discretion over certain things. And, you know, I ain't going to sugarcoat it. That's just the way it was. Now, I had a personal rule that, and when I was a training officer, I taught my probationers the same thing. Because I've let other things go too. I've let cocaine go and you name it, man. I mean, look, dude, if you got a rock of cocaine and you're going to trade that, your freedom, and you're going to give me information about some dude that's got pounds of cocaine in his pad, you're going fucking free. That because I don't, you know, why do I want to go waste 4 hours writing reports, booking evidence, taking shit down to property, down to central, PAB? Why do I want to do that for some dude that's going to go in and out of jail when I could go invest my time in getting an actual criminal off the streets that's going to do some serious fucking time? That was just the way I did things. And so what I would do is, and I taught my young guys this, my new guys, the probationers. If you're going to let somebody go with weed or a rock of cocaine or something, never, and this is a rule, man, you don't ever take their shit and tell them to go ahead and beat feet, get out of here. Why wouldn't you do that? Because they're going to suspect, rightfully so, you can't blame them. They're going to believe that you took their shit and you either used it or sold it or planted it on somebody else. Why would they not think that? You know, as it was, we always got accused of that shit. You know, oh, you guys are fucking, taking our evidence and smoking it, or you're planting dope on other people. I'm not naive. I'm sure that must have happened sometime. I mean, look at the Rampart case. I mean, there were bad cops, man, especially when you had, consent decrees where you had to hire certain people for certain reasons other than qualifications. That's another video. But so how did I deal with it? Here's how I dealt with it. You're the bad guy, and I'm the fucking pig. I can't destroy evidence because that is a crime. You know, if I just destroy evidence, then I'm committing a crime. I didn't tell them that, but that's the reality. And so I would, let's just say it's a rock of cocaine, or you guys in the East Coast, everybody calls it crack now, but in those days we called it rock back then. So I would hand it to them. If I had already made the decision I was going to let them go because they gave me something bigger, or I was just in a good mood and the guy was a good dude, which happened a lot, I would say, look, man, there is a little something here that we got to deal with. Well, what's that? I'm like, well, as long as that it exists, I have an obligation to arrest you for it because it's illegal. It's a felony. And they would be all confused, well, what do you want, man? Look, don't make me spell it out for you, man. And then they'd be like, well, you want me to drop it on the ground? I'm like, drop it. And then they drop it on the ground. And I'm like, but it still exists. And they get confused. What are you saying? What are you saying? What do you want? And I don't want to tell the guy to do it. I'm giving myself some plausible deniability is what I'm doing. And this is in the days before cameras and shit. So you had a lot of people think, oh man, you guys didn't have cameras. You must have got away with a lot of terrible shit. I'll tell you what we did do in the days before cameras. We gave a fucking hell of a lot of flexibility and leeway to people on the street. Like I could do a 2-hour video on the shit we used to do to avoid taking good people to jail. And very few of them had this complexion because I didn't work in those areas. So I will tell you, so the guy'd be like, hey, so what are you saying? And I'm like, look, man, I can't stand here all fucking night. There is a felony item standing on the ground by your, pay attention, foot. As long as it exists, I'm going to have to hook you up. Well, so are you asking me to stop? I ain't asking you to do shit, but that thing still exists, and I ain't going to stand here discussing this for the next fucking 3 hours. And it was like a little kid, they'd put their foot over it and look at me to see if I was going to say stop, and I'd be like, still there. And then they'd finally get it, and they'd squish it into the concrete, and take their foot away, and I'm like, man, I could still scrape that up. And they scrape it. And I'd say, oh, gee, my evidence is gone. I have no problem. I have no arrest. Take care. But what I did that for was the reasons I said, that dude, when he walked away, knew that I wasn't smoking his shit or selling his shit or planting his shit. And the same thing went for weed. same thing, man. As long as it's there, I got to do something, man. Don't, if it was to go away, I guess I wouldn't have any evidence, and you'd have to play this fucking word game, which I didn't mind because I kind of thought it was fun. You guys that watch me know I have a very immature sense, mind and sense of humor. I can find, you got to make life fun. So sometimes it was fun just trying to fucking pantomime shit to get people to understand what the fuck. I'm trying to help you out, man. Can't help you as long as that's here. So, but it's just the Joe Rogan beginning just got me thinking what a strange time we're living in, where I can't go anywhere right now without catching a buzz if I'm in a crowd, because everybody's just smoking weed, and it's just a mind blow. And it's funny because a lot of people ask me, well, now that you're retired, why are you not smoking weed? And here's the simple answer to that. I would do it, but I value my Second Amendment rights. And when you're carrying a gun and you buy a gun, you got to fill out all these forms. And though it's legal in the states, I think almost every state or most states, it's still federally illegal. So I don't fuck around with it. Maybe someday by the time I'm 90 years old, they'll change the rules. And on my deathbed, I'll fucking roll up a big fat doobie and just fucking puff my way into a bag of Cheetos, and that'll be fucking the way I go out. I don't know. Don't feel like I'm missing anything. I don't drink. I don't do shit like that. But nothing against you guys that do. But I'm trying to think, is there anything else I can add to this very, very long video? That's it. I wanted to share that with you. You guys, I hope that was entertaining, and I hope you learned something about the way cops used to think. I don't know what they're doing now. I mean, if you think about it now, you got a body camera on, you're not going to be able to do shit like that. You're fucked. The same with DUIs. I don't like DUI drivers because I don't want some innocent family killed, but I can't tell you how many times I and the cops I worked with, if somebody had a good attitude, and that was always the key. I couldn't be a cop today, man, for $1 million an hour, because the first time somebody's like, man, fuck you, but I don't have the temperament to put up with that shit. I'd be fucking fired and probably put in jail. I just wouldn't be able to deal with it. But they hired different types of people back then. We weren't woke, and we weren't educated by people that were into all of this equity and these buzzwords, and fuck that. It was black and white, man, in terms of, we knew where our lines were, and we knew which ones were gray areas too. I pull you over, you're a nice dude or dudette, you're not giving me any shit. You're not insulting my intelligence by saying, I had a fucking drink, that kind of shit. Hey, man, yeah, I fucking ran the light. It's probably because I'm fucking drunk as fuck. I'm coming back from my brother-in-law's, bachelor party or whatever. Where do you live? Oh, 2 blocks away. Here's what we're going to do, man. And we would make sure that he didn't have the keys to his car. We'd either have somebody come and get him, or we'd take him home if there was somebody there, and we could be sure that he wasn't going to stumble back and get his car. We did that all the time, dude. I mean, we didn't take joy in fucking people's lives up, contrary to popular belief. Now, if you were a real bad guy and somebody that was a threat to innocent people that were trying to fucking live their lives, man, you didn't want me after you, because I wore the badge because I know there's evil in the world and there's good. And I wanted to be that little shield between good and evil. It sounds corny today, maybe. I do know some current cops that still think that way, that are cops today, young guys. And I think it's coming back. But, like I tell these guys, all the changes were not bad changes that happened, and they all started after, let's just be honest, Rodney King, the Rodney King thing was the catalyst for all of the changes in law enforcement, good, bad, and ugly. Because sad to say, the Rodney King thing wasn't that big of a deal. I'm just being straight with you. No matter what you thought, I know that the younger people in the world, and all liberals and a lot of other people, are convinced that was a racially motivated beatdown of an innocent dude. Rodney King wasn't innocent. Rodney King wasn't complying. Rodney King was not doing what he's told. He was trying to get up on his knees. There was extreme use of force, and it was caught on video. That was the difference. if that had never gone into the news and somehow I saw that video, me and all cops like me would have went, man, those guys are fucked up. They don't know how to take this guy into custody. You don't have to hit a guy that many times. I mean, when there's that many cops there, fucking handcuff him, man. Get, somebody, you always got your covering officers, and just get one or two of you in there and get dirty, man. That's what it's for. That's the name of it. I can't tell you how many times I ripped my $60 pants or my $30 shirts at the time. This was a lot of money for a fucking cop back then. Because I got busy, man, got dirty, got shit done. But the thing is, Rodney King's happened all over the fucking city. You're not going to like hearing that. But you know what? The other side of that coin is how fucked up those guys were. Not, they have to just keep on hitting motherfuckers. And then, of course, the stomp was not cool. But the reality of it is, when I walked into the police station the day that was on the news and I was getting ready to go get dressed and I look at the TV and everybody's watching this TV and I see what's going on, the news is showing it and they keep slow motion. And I was like thinking, oh, guy's getting arrested. Oh, it was like another day in the office. Little did any of us know it was going to change law enforcement around the country and maybe the world. And it fucked up race relations and blah, blah, blah. And the liberals took it and ran with it. And all cops are fucking, jackbooted thugs and blah, blah, blah. And that led us all the way up to defund the police, and that's the bad part of it. I used to tell people, and I've said it so many times to people that were, man, you didn't have to hit that guy. I'm like, look, man, everything that a cop wears on his belt, none of it's meant to be comfortable. The handcuffs suck. Your wrists are going to hurt. The fucking batons are meant to fucking hurt you and beat you into submission so you stop doing what it is you're doing that you shouldn't be doing. And the taser's meant to fucking light you up like a Sylvania blue dot light bulb and stop you from what you're doing. And the fucking tear gas and mace, that shit doesn't feel good. And I'm pretty sure a fucking 9mm or 40 caliber doesn't feel very good either, and it can end your life. So, the trick is not to let it get to that level. And unfortunately, most people don't get that the one in control, the one that's driving the train of use of force, is the suspect. I've always said, if you're stopped wrong, if you're in a car and the cops think that the car's stolen and it's not stolen, you don't have a trial right there, because you're going to lose that fucking trial. Because if the cop thinks it's stolen, he's going to treat you like a car thief. And if you're moving around and you reach down, now you just went from a car thief to a guy that's probably going to be a cop killer in his mind. So it escalates based on your actions. I always tell people, man, get the fuck out of the car. Tell him what you're going to tell him. Hey, man, this is my brother-in-law's car. He just bought it. And then just let him handcuff you and fucking resolve it later. If they break the law or they break the rules, there's recourse. In a civil society, you make complaints, you get an attorney, you sue the fucking department. Qualified immunity. Don't get me started. Fucking people yell shit out. They learn a phrase and they yell it out and they put it out on, we need to get rid of qualified immunity. I've talked about this on other videos. Go ahead and do it. Get rid of qualified immunity and then tell me who's going to wear a badge. Because 90% of the people crying, we got to stop qualified immunity, have no fucking idea what it is and why it exists. But I can tell you this, do away with it and see who's protecting your grandmother and your daughter and your granddaughter and grandson when they grow up. Ain't nobody that's worth a shit is going to wear the badge. So I'm not even going to lay it out because I'm starting to get mad. Just every time I see people say that, it's like, wow, wow. That'd be like if you worked at McDonald's and you handed somebody a cup of hot coffee and they spilled it on themselves and burned themselves really bad. They sue you, take your house, take your income, take your car, not McDonald's. Who would work at McDonald's with that kind of a fucking setup? McDonald's takes on some liability when they hire you, and they're insured for that. Just like the city is, if a cop is acting in good faith, I truly believe you have a gun. This is, we're talking about good faith here. If a reasonable group of people could believe that in the situation that we're showing in this courtroom, I think you have a gun because you reached out in and it's 3 a.m. and you pulled this out and you went like this and I dropped you. That's fucked up for you. It's fucked up for me. That's not murder. It's a bad police work. It's whatever it is. But you sue that guy, take his house, take everything. There ain't nobody on earth that's gonna fucking wear that badge. Quite frankly, I'm amazed that anybody wears it now with all the restrictions that society puts on cops. But like I said, all changes that came out of the Rodney King thing weren't bad. Look, how cool would it have been? Oh man, I wish we had dash cams back in my day and body cams. Just for the souvenirs I could have. I did some pretty fucking like high budget movie looking shit when I was a young cop. That if I had that on a body cam, man, I could just look at that as I got older and fucking more crippled and think, man, you were a fucking badass. Because now it just lives in my memory. I'd love to have video of that. But it also would have stopped a lot of, camera shows not everything, but it shows a high percentage of what's going on. It doesn't show what's going on in the cop's mind, what's going on in the suspect's mind. It doesn't show what's outside of the camera view. It doesn't show what was going on before it was recording. Maybe someday they'll have the technology to have it record all the time, and then we can watch cops take a piss and everything. There's a lot of shit, but yeah. All in all, I think body cameras are a good thing. There's some other good shit that came out of it, and I just can't think of what it is now. But yeah, I mean, some of the ways I guess that cops have backed off of the, hey man, let me see your ID. Now that was what we were taught. That's how we operated. And it wasn't until I became an old man, where I was like sitting around thinking, I was watching all these YouTube videos where everybody's fucking with the police. And, a couple years ago, I was like, I mean, they're not wrong. You can't just stop fucking people and ask them for ID. And then I started feeling really fucking shitty, man. And I was like, I talked to my wife. I was like, man, I think I fucked up, man. All these years later, and I'm like, I have a lot of memory of, stopping guys at 3 o'clock in the morning. I worked in the middle of the night. That was, morning watch, graveyard hours. It's my favorite watch because it's easier to find bad guys, If you're going down an alley at 3 o'clock in the morning and you see a dude going between the houses, it might be the guy that lives there or the neighbor, but you're more apt to find a burglar or a rapist or somebody. It's hard to find bad guys in the middle of the fucking daytime. Plus, I hate the sun. I'm like a vampire. But, I had and still have some guilt over that, It's like, back then, if I caught you walking through the alley in the middle of the night, that's the first thing I'm going to ask you once I get everything controlled. So, who are you, man? Let me see some ID. Why don't you have ID? Now, in that scenario, it's justifiable, I think. I mean, you're if you have reasonable suspicion, but then a cop hater or a lawyer is going to tell me right now, and I'm not saying they're wrong, is it illegal for a guy to walk down an alley at 3 o'clock in the morning? So it's foggy. Then the realistic me wants to say, and there's reality and then there's reality. And the reality is, do you fucking people want police officers to investigate guys walking down dark alleys at 3 o'clock in the morning when that alley happens to be behind your house and you got a wife and 3 kids? Or do you want the police to be like, nope, can't stop that guy? And then later, when somebody gets robbed, raped, or murdered, everybody's like, where the fuck were the police? Where are you guys? Why don't you guys patrol over here? Well, what's the fucking point of patrolling if you can't do anything? And there's departments right now, I won't name them, but right now, very close to me, where they're prohibited, man. They can't stop people because they have suspicion. Do you guys realize how much of police work back in the days before Rodney King, the majority of the best arrests that I ever made, and I'm talking high-level shit, rapists, murderers, armed robbers, bad people that would hurt you and your family, not even fucking blink. The majority of that came from just gut instinct, man. You're driving along, you look over at a car, or you're at a red light, you look over the car. The guy looks at you, and you get a feeling. Maybe that's your instincts. Or, there's a lot to be said about that. Is the guy looking at you and a bead of sweat pops out of his forehead and it's cold? Or does he not look at you? You're in a fucking black and white, man. And when you pull up, a cop car pulling up, normal people kind of look over, for the most part. But when a motherfucker's rigid as hell and he ain't looking at you, in those days, you've got my attention, brother. Now, I'm not going to pit maneuver you and pull you out at gunpoint for that, but I'm going to start looking for probable cause to stop you. And I'm being honest, you can't go 20 yards without giving me probable cause, legitimate probable cause to stop your ass. Because when I'm behind you, you're going to get nervous, you're going to lane straddle, you're going to do whatever. Oh, that's fucked up. You're admitting to all kinds. I'm just telling you, look, I can lie to you and say that we went right by the book, or I can tell you the truth, and that's what I want to do. I want to tell you the truth. And the truth is that I could not tell you how many heavy-duty criminals wanted in fucking Des Moines, Iowa for fucking murder, rape, and robbery. And when you back it all the way up to why was I even dealing with the guy, it was a gut fucking instinct, man. I'm on my way to get some coffee or something to eat, and the dude just didn't look right. Something wrong with that guy. Now, there's other cars going by. Something drew me to that car. I have my own theories as to what that is. Guys that know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Do the U-turn. Either the pursuit starts right there because you did the U-turn, or the car stops. Now you're in a foot pursuit. You're going over fences, blah, blah, blah. But by the time you get this dude into custody, 9 out of 10 times, you got... Now, today, the way the news... If that went bad and somebody lost their life, here's what the news would say. You know, a guy failed to stop for a stop sign and the police killed him. They shot him 27 times. So if the police shoot somebody 27 times because they tried to stop him for running a stop sign, was he killed for running the stop sign? Really? Is that how... Are we that fucked up that we're going to believe that, hey, partner, that fucker didn't stop all the way, taking him down? Is that really what we think? Or do we think the actions of that person who was going to get stopped for running the stop sign, and now now we're in a pursuit. Okay, we don't care about the stop sign anymore, people. Once you take off and you're all over the fucking place doing 100 miles an hour on a 35 mile an hour zone, I ain't thinking about your fucking traffic violation. I don't know what the fuck you're running from. I'm thinking anybody that's driving like that up on the sidewalk, hitting fucking street lights and shit and threatening people's lives, I'm thinking you got a body in the trunk, you got a fucking AK under the seat, you're wanted in fucking 10 states for 16 I don't know, man. But I know that normal people, when they run a stop sign and the cops get behind them, fucking stop and either argue the ticket or get the ticket, or they're really nice. And somebody like me who hated going to traffic court, all you had to do is be nice to me. That's all you had to do. Hey man, do you know why I stopped you? Well, yeah, I ran the stop sign. You know what, man? I appreciate your honesty. Let me see if you got any warrants. No warrants. You know, make sure you pay attention and have a nice day. I don't want to go to fucking traffic court, man. That's what motorcycle cops are for. I'm here to fucking put evil people behind bars, to protect the people that hate us. That's what my mindset was. So, man, this video turned from a fucking Joe Rogan marijuana thing. See how I am? I'm a talker. Hope you enjoyed it. Take care. I'm going to stop. Airborne 80, I'm out.